Hello and welcome to all the Hillians or men of the West, men and women of the West out there. I'm Joe. Sorry for the weird nasally voice to an extent. I've been sick for almost a week with a cold. First strep throat, then evolved into a cold. I'm at the tail end of the cold though, thankfully, because I travel tomorrow to Toronto, whole 8 or so hours south. And then I've got like 30 hours of travel by plane to Vietnam. So this is going to be, I don't know when I'm going to be live streaming next. Um, I get my schedule and some of the finer details when show up for work. Or at least over there, I have to sign a bunch of documents once I'm over there. But that's its own thing, which I'm very glad for. It's a great opportunity. That said, let's get to talking to Zelda about Zelda, because if you've shown up for this, you want to hear about Zelda. All right, Dan can't show up because his own throat is worse than mine. So, yeah, I shared with him my virus after our mother visited and shared it with me. So, it's going around the family. If only we didn't share that sort of thing. That's sort of cold. But anyways, as now, had Dan had his throat still together, I would have had him watch the trailer of Tears for the Kingdom. Oh, here he is with my hot chocolate, but I won't subject his voice to this. All right.
There you go.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm currently live. And yeah, his voice is even worse than mine. I'll wait for that to cool off, even though my throat's kind of crying out for some thing to drink. And it, hopefully you can all hear me. And as to Zelda, the Tears of the Kingdom gameplay video from the other day was interesting, and it did leave me with a few concerns regarding the game, because I just think that the idea of Link being able to make these kind of vehicles and tie things together like that, and I wonder if this isn't too much of a blend between sci-fi and fantasy. Now, there's a type of genre en français that I really, really hate. It's my least favorite literary genre of all times. It's called fantastique or something like that. And it's sci-fi disguised as fantasy. And it is just, it is intolerable. It's never well written. It's never well written. And I remember reading it as a kid. What the writers would try to do is showcase it as fantasy, and basically over the course of time pull the rug out from under you and reveal sci-fi, or they'd just lean into sci-fi and in such a way that's just intolerable. And the thing about mixing some sci-fi and some fantasy is that, for example, Tales of Symphonia was able to do it really well, but the notion that just anyone can do this, I think, is stupid. I don't think the two genres should really intermingle with each other, because one is based on medieval literature or inspired by it. The other is, is inspired by the idea of the future and possible futures. So this is the difference between sci-fi and fantasy. And Tears of the Kingdom, I'm very, very nervous about, just in that regard. On the other hand, gameplay graphics looks great. The gameplay looks fun. So the most important thing in a video game is to have fun. So yeah, just wanted to kind of go over those concerns real quick that I have over this upcoming game, which a lot of people are really, really excited for, and I understand. Um, but I do think one should not always. Okay, how do I put it? You shouldn't always just leap into something with the highest of expectations. We need to sometimes go in with no expectations because my point of view is that if you, sorry, excuse me, still recovering from my cold and my, I guess, a bit of my strep throat. I'm now at the point where I'm spitting out phlegm. So that's a great thing. And I'm hoping my hot chocolate will soon be cooled off. It should be drowning in honey. But, anyways, if you just plunge on into something with all these high expectations and excitement, more often than not, you'll end up disappointed. And my view is let's not get into this completely disappointed. Let's try to walk into it with a good amount of uh, uh, a healthy amount of open-mindedness, because you never know, it could be great, but well, you never know. And I hope people don't unsub for that. I just have a more cautious mindset. But like I said, the gameplay looks great. Looks like a fun game, but I just have a few particular concerns regarding lore and regarding uh, the reuse of certain assets in game, and the sky thing reminds me of Mario a lot. So in that regard, I'd almost rather that this. I like it when Mario does this. I'm not sure about Zelda doing it, but whatever. I'm with video games. I guess I'm a boomer. I guess you could say I like the old way of doing things. I like the old way of doing things. I always look at things as a book or in a movie type of way. So I just, even though I grew up with playing more video games than I did watching movies as a child. So there is that. But yeah, Zelda, more broadly speaking, Zelda is a franchise that has generally withstood the test of time. So I remember Wind Waker, for example, and some of its sequels not being the most successful Zelda games and generally getting a lot of criticism. So I would argue that although the support of Breath of the Wild was ginormous, I think that Tears of the Kingdom, let's say it's a total catastrophe, I think Zelda will survive that because it's weathered so many storms already. On the other hand, if Tears of the Kingdom is a runaway success, I think that the next game will, if it's disappointing, will weather the storm. It's just Zelda's built to last, is my argument. But like I said, if it's a runaway success, like I think and like most people seem to think it will be, it'll probably, well, encourage Nintendo. But Nintendo also tends to kind of, they like to change things up with Zelda. So, like, you look at Ocarina of Time. What came after? Well, Majora's Mask. Okay, well, what came after Majora's Mask? You had, I think, Wind Waker. Wind Waker was nothing like Ocarina. It's not till the Twilight Princess that you got a sequel to Majora's Mask. And if you look at Ocarina of Time, now when it came out, you had A Link to the Past that was a big deal, and it was expected there should be a sequel to. Sorry, I have my old man's voice here. You have a Link to the Past, which was a great success, and then Ocarina of Time was completely different. So after Tears of the Kingdom, they're definitely going to do something different. Because if the sequel is exactly like the previous game, they always do something completely different. Although they did have Age of Calamity, so that's technically a direct sequel or prequel of sorts of Breath of the Wild. But if they do, like, I just suspect that after Tears of the Kingdom, they're going to do something completely different. Excuse me. Just had to take a sip. Oh, wow. We have 3 people currently watching. That's good. Much better. But yeah. Now, if there's any questions that come up, I'll just post them up. Actually, I should ask if people can hear me. Put it in the chat too. Probably sound like a croaking old man or something. Oh gosh, that's more honey than hot chocolate. But yeah, so here's the 1K celebration of Zelda. At least for the channel, which I'm going to be honest, when we first posted that Malin video, in the first day or two, it wasn't the big success it became, but it, we just did it for fun, and it just got carried away, I guess, and people really liked it. So that's really what pushed us over from almost 900 to 1,000. So I'm very glad for that. Although it means we had to do Hyrule in Focus, which is a pretty fun podcast, one of the funnest ones out there. So thank you to everyone for helping us get to do Hyrule in Focus. Who knows if we would have done that had we not had such positive feedback for Malin and our Volvagia videos. Now, as it is, and before I continue with the Zelda thing, I should let people know that we're going to be, while I'm in Vietnam and Dan's over here, what we're going to be doing is that Dan's going to take up the lion's share of the video making. I will still edit the audio. We'll be recording from 2 different locations, of course, and I will edit the audio, and then I forward it to Dan, and Dan generally puts together the videos with the images and everything. And we're going to see if he can keep up with my old the old schedule or routine. If it turns out that we can't keep up with that, we're going to go with a rotation schedule with 2 videos a week and 1 live stream. But if you can't keep up, we're going to continue with the current routine. So yeah, it'll all depend. And I'll be, of course, editing. I think I'm going to be mostly looking after the Tolkien videos and the odd Zelda or Conan video here and there. So sorry, this darn cold. But most videos will be put together by Dan. Most of the videos this past week have been put together by Dan. So you guys have all gotten a good feel for how he does the videos. So he's still finding kind of his comfort zone with them. But the only one I think I ended up supervising for the most part was Conan the Liberator and the upcoming Hyrule in Focus. I supervised, but he did everything. I pretty much just said, okay, sure. So we do have a Hyrule in Focus coming up on Tuesday. So that'll be good. And this will, in regards to the Zelda thing, we're going to be probably moving towards doing a bit of Breath of the Wild stuff. But what I'd like to do is maybe set it up with Zelda as a rotation. I want to continue Hyrule in Focus. I really enjoy that. I really, really enjoy exploring Link to the Past in such detail, as it's such a gem of a game. And A Link to the Past is really at least was my intro to the Zelda franchise in its entirety. Oh yeah, my 3DS is finished charging, and I'll be obviously carrying it with me to Vietnam. So it's a game with quite a bit of emotional value for me. I really do like that game, and I think in terms of Zelda, it's important because it reinvented the franchise. It reinvented it for maybe not a new generation, but it was the Breath of the Wild of the SNES in a way, because it broadened the Zelda audience to a whole new bunch. Now, weirdly, the original Legend of Zelda and Legend of Zelda 2 were more, or at least the first game was more like Breath of the Wild in a way. It was more open world exploration for the most part. You have to find your way to Ganon and, of course, kill him. But sorry for all the coughing. It's just, I really wanted to do this stream, but so maybe that wasn't the best idea, but figured I'd do it anyways. But anyways, the idea with Link to the Past is that it brought in all the dungeons and all these the style of Zelda that we all became accustomed to, at least till Breath of the Wild, which kind of went in a different direction, which technically Breath of the Wild was being more faithful to the original Zelda. So, it's a Link to the Past, that's a weirdo. But I have a lot of sentimentality towards A Link to the Past because of the fact that I really do like the comic. I don't think I gave it a good rating in the review, but I still have a soft spot for the comic for some reason. And I really do like the game because my older brother used to play that, Suikoden, and Earthbound, along with Mega Man X in front of me, and Aladdin, all these SNES games. And of course, the one PlayStation 1 game, Suikoden, in front of me when I was growing up. So I quickly got familiar with A Link to the Past. Didn't beat it till quite a few decades later. But, oh, there's the dog. All right, puppy. It's much more your room than it is mine at this point. But yeah. But that said, Link to the Past, very important Zelda game, and one I'm enjoying doing the Hyrule focus thing on. Although I'm thinking maybe after Link to the Past, maybe what we'll do is do Ocarina of Time after that. Ocarina of Time's a good game. And we're going to have to probably see fit to rotate the schedule around, because I do want to do, we're going to have to change up a bit of the format of the reaction videos, because we can't exactly record using Wondershare and with the camera in the corner. So we might end up using StreamYard to record to an extent. And given that I'm now paid into StreamYard, I should be fine with doing that, I think. And then downloading the recordings onto the computer and then uploading. Generally, seems that people in Major Link would prefer the videos unedited. So we'll be unedited. We'll put them in RAW. That being said, we do have Tears of the Kingdom stuff that we have to get to. So what I might do is decide we should do a rotation of things. We're going to do Hyrule Focus. We're going to have the Major Link stuff and the Tears of the Kingdom on a rotation, one after the other. I think this will be good for people because, that way you don't get bored, so to speak. And the only thing is, Zelda videos tend to be some of the longest content, like videos that we make. mean, we do have a TikTok channel, and over there, it's just divided into 3 or 4 parts, I think, per video. It's just, yeah. Thankfully for us, I think I uploaded one on Storyfire. One of the videos on Storyfire. I should upload another. So we have that, Rumble, and YouTube, where, yeah, most. Sorry, if only I could link my Storyfire channel to YouTube so that I could double the kind of, patch them onto Storyfire at the same time that they get uploaded and whatnot on YouTube. That'd be great. Although thankfully by this time of the next year or so, we'll be able to live stream on Storyfire, so that'll be wonderful. Rather than streaming on Twitter as the third option. Maybe I should switch next time to streaming on Rumble instead of Twitter. I'll keep streaming on Twitch and YouTube. Twitch and YouTube, but I gotta change out Twitter. Let me see. Wonder if I can edit it right now. Oh yeah, that's right. I had problems with setting up the Rumble page. That's right. Whoops. Oh well. But yeah, that's how things will go. That's the state of the channel going forward regarding Zelda. And as for the rest of the channel stuff, we're going to continue forward, trying to do the stuff we're currently doing, mostly Dragonlance. We've got to finish the current podcast, the Dragons of Twilight stuff. That after we do, we probably end up, we're going to watch the D&D Honor Among Thieves movie and try to get that out for people for next week, which will be the 7th. The 7th. Oops, my bad. So yeah, and by the 14th, we're going to get the last Dragons of Autumn Twilight video up. And after that, I don't know. Maybe I'll get back to doing Dragonlance lore videos. Maybe Legendary Artifact videos. I love those. Oh, and here's Ares Aurelian. Hand pink waving hello. Dropping in for a quick peek. How's things? Well, my throat is terrible, but that's my cold for you. I think my voice is a little nasally, but overall I'm having a bit of fun discussing Zelda and the state of the channel going forward, since I'll be moving to Vietnam in a few days. So yeah, most of the content's already lined up for next week, but not all. But I'm trying to get the next Tolkien video done, and with the goal of setting that up for Wednesday ahead of time. Currently, we're trying to get Warcraft underway. And we have Conan already set up. And we have Zelda set up. And then we're going to... and we also have Dragonlance that's giving us a bit of trouble. So Tolkien and Dragonlance, we're going to have to work overtime to get set up. We'll probably have to use the hotel internet, although I'd prefer to upload and set up all the videos, schedule them all before I leave. And then I could just market them and just, make sure everything is running smoothly. But I don't know if I'm going to make it in time, especially since the next Tolkien video I'm a little more than half done. So let's see how long my next Dragonlance video is. We're almost a third of the way finished. So all's good, I think. But as to Zelda, like I said, the original plan, Ares Aurelian, was that we would have Dan do a bit of a live stream reaction to Tears of the Kingdom's gameplay video, but that can't happen because his throat is shot, and he's working on Warcraft video right now. So, yeah. That said, this is going to be a shorter than usual stream because my throat isn't fully recovered. And I got to finish packing. And I got to finish editing 2 videos audio for tonight so that I can pass them along to Dan and tell him, set these up. And it's either that or I'll have to upload them tomorrow while I'm writing and doing other stuff. I may have to do the Tolkien thing myself early in the morning. But oh well. As to Zelda, I'm going to ask Aries Aurelian, if you're still listening, who is your favorite Zelda character, if you're familiar with the Zelda mythology yourself? Actually, let me check something real quick. Yep, should be good. All right, doesn't seem like there's much. So, yeah, I don't know. I never played Zelda. Okay, that's fine. I don't, but I know about it a little. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not the best Zelda gamer. During COVID, I beat A Link to the Past because I wanted to go back and beat the first video game I ever saw in my life. And because I tried to play it at about 4 years old and I just kept giving up. I wasn't a very good gamer. Still not. But I decided I'd go back and I'd at least beat the first video game I ever saw in my life, which I did. It was fun. And but after that, I actually began collecting some of the Hyrule Historia stuff and just some of the lore stuff, and I've had a bit of fun with that. So, and my brother our oldest brother, at one point lured me into a D&D campaign, which used the Zelda rule book someone had designed online. So that was pretty fun. So I won't lie, I prefer the lore to anything else with Zelda. I really like the lore. Some games I prefer the gameplay to the lore. I mean, you look at yeah, I'm having a hard time coming up with one off the top of my head. This is tricky. Hello, Game Boy Master. Interesting username. Welcome. First time I see you here. I hope you don't mind my terrible throat. Still getting over a cold. But anyways, yeah. Right. One game that I preferred the gameplay to the story was Suikoden 2, for example. Not the Basha story. Still pretty good story. It's just the gameplay was better, I found. But with Zelda, while I love some of the gameplay, a lot of the gameplay actually, I was always more of a lore guy. But it's so long ago. Yeah, I know. It's very nerdy of me to go, yeah, I gotta know more. I gotta keep looking it up. Yeah. Honestly, I would not be looking, like, I only looked up enough for fun for the Malin video, just because I was like, well, you know what, let's make this video just kind of for Valentine's Day, just for fun. And it was a runaway success. Then we said, okay, let's try another one, Volvagia. That was also a really, really popular video. So now we're trapped in making Zelda videos, which isn't so bad, especially since it means I get to revisit A Link to the Past and just look at the gameplay and look up the lore and have fun with that and look up Celtic mythology and stuff like that, aka Epic Kingdom. Oh, you have a side channel? I did not know that. I should look that up. Doubtless, if it's a gaming channel, I just know for a fact, Epic Kingdom or Game Boy Master, that you're going to be better than me. So, because I'm not a very good gamer. I'm a far better reader than I am gamer. So, but yeah, as for Zelda, there's plenty of lore. Um, the lore was first introduced, arguably, with A Link to the Past, and then it was massively expanded upon in Ocarina of Time, which it used to be that in my younger days I was irritated by Ocarina of Time because I found that um, weirdly I liked Majora's Mask and A Link to the Past more, and I found that Ocarina of Time was overrated when I was a much younger person, when I was a preteen. I've always been a bit of a contrarian, but as I've grown older, I've come to really like Ocarina of Time, and I really appreciate the lore. I like the timeline division. So my feelings have softened and warmed towards Ocarina of Time. Yeah, it was a great expansion. Arguably, sorry, arguably one of the greatest. Yeah, like another game I have not beaten. I made it all the way, I think, to like the final castle or something. I can't remember. Our oldest brother. Oh right, yeah. I spoke to him a few days ago. Well, a few weeks ago, and he said, "Oh yeah, you made it to the final castle, Joe. You just don't remember because you didn't care, and the data was deleted." And I went, "Oh, okay. Wow, okay." He was always better at remembering what I did accomplish in video games for a long time than I did. I remembered books, movies, video games, not so much, except for a few video games like Kingdom Hearts. But yeah, Ocarina of Time, probably, in hindsight, in my top 3 or 4 favorite expansions to the series. Link to the Past probably ranks as second or first. Hyrule Warriors is either second or first. I really like Hyrule Warriors. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I really love that game. I've not played it in years, but I really like Hyrule Warriors. I really like the addition of Sia and Lana and even Linkle to the franchise. I think it offers a lot of potential. And I think that Zelda could do with at least one Linkle game, but also with Sia and Lana, or at least Sia showing up in a major game, because the idea of the Guardian of Time and her being in a quarrel between her and Ganon for the Triforce of Power could be interesting, because Ganon is really someone who corrupted the Triforce of Power. But while power itself can be a negative thing, you also need strength and one second. You also need power and strength and might to affect the changes you want and whatnot. And inner courage and strength, well, not inner courage, that's Triforce of Courage, but you need inner strength for your courage to fuel it. So I guess I kind of look at power, wisdom, and courage as all being interlinked with each other. Hope you guys like the pun. So I kind of view what Ganon has done as corruptive, in that thematically it would make sense for there to be a Triforce of Power wielder who would hallow it. And I think that it also fits with the theme of Zelda, that the next wielder should perhaps be someone with divine connections as well. Because when you consider that Zelda has her divine connections to Hylia, the goddess, the goddess of Skyloft and the ancestress of the royal family, it would make sense for there to be, well, someone with another link to time and the Triforce into Hyrule in a similar fashion to an extent as Zelda, as the alternative Triforce of Power wielder. Um, First, Zelda lore could be related to the concepts in Ultima 4, Quest of the Avatar. I'm not familiar with that game. Um, sorry, I'm not. I've never even heard of that game. That sounds interesting. But as to I think my next favorite expansion is probably Majora's Mask. I love the horror element. I love it. Majora is so creepy. I love that. And I love that little laugh he gives. It reminds me of Kefka from Final Fantasy VI. Honestly, I didn't like the gameplay thing of the 3 days thing to an extent. I love the idea. I hated the actual having to do that because I was never very good. I always game overed. But I love the lore surrounding him and everything like that. Just gonna say hedge. Okay, can't really join a Zelda conversation. I only ever played Zelda Link's Awakening on the Game Boy. That's fine, Mark Spot. I'm glad to see you. As you can hear, I still have my terrible cold, which as soon as my throat and my voice gives out and cracks completely, I'm gonna call it quits on this, which might not be too much longer. But most of the people showing up are not the biggest Zelda experts and whatnot. They're in a similar situation as you. Harry Aurelian has only played a few of the games, I think, is what he said. But yeah, honestly, Mark Scheiber, I've played a few of the games and I've only beaten A Link to the Past and Hyrule Warriors. I'm in no position to really judge. Now, you look at these Zelda tubers, I've talked to a few. They're very polite, very, very fun people. One of them and I are, one of them is actually in talks with me for a good live stream in a few weeks. So we would have done it this past week, but my throat kicked in. I had strep throat. He had it was his exam week. I don't remember what the exact schedule or how many exams or tests he had. So it fell through. That being said, Zelda is, as I said to others, Link to the Past was the first video game I ever saw in my life, ever, at about 2 years old or so. So, what was it? I think like 28 years. No, it was like 29 years later. I decided. No, it was 27 years. 27 years later, I decided I should go back and play it and beat it. So I did. It was fun. But yeah, I'm more focused on the lore. Most of the other Zelda tubers are focused on lore and gameplay, and they're impressive gamers. I mostly listen to the videos here and there while I work on other things. Typically these days I'm listening to more Conan and Tolkien stuff though. But I just wanted to get a feel for the community because I'm basically pitching my hat into the ring. I might as well get familiar. And a lot of them have, some of them are very, very clever, like Red Book, bringing in ideas of Buddhist and Shintoist theology, philosophy, metaphysics, and whatnot into their analysis of things like Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess and Breath of Wild. So you actually have a lot of them that are very, very, very intelligent, very well educated. The ones I noted, I think that particularly impressed me were there was a Laurulian historian, I think it was. You have Zelda. Dome, I think it is, and Hyrule or Hylian something or other. Let me see. Sorry, I'm sick. My memory is shot a little. Let me look him up. I've got him here on Discord. HG's. No, that's not it. Well, that's his darn channel name. I want to give him a proper shout out. Hyrule Gamer, that's it. Nice guy. Him and Bandit. And there's also Triforce Trends. They're all really, really clever people. And a lot of them are very well educated and very intelligent. I really like them. I've spoken to a few of them because I was just trying to get a feel for the community. And they've been very friendly. They've given me a lot of tips. They even gave me a few essays to read and a few document files that they've compiled of the lore and whatnot. So that was pretty cool to discover that. Some of them like to write large multi-page documents analyzing Hyrule in a rather academic manner. Primarily, Hyrule Gamer, his Discord page has a bunch of PDF files, and they are just utterly brilliant. They also have a few websites which they go to and they share amongst each other. And yeah, so it's a very academic group in some cases. Others take more of the gamer approach and just analyze the games and tear them apart, analyze all the lore, all the little details, mostly gaming secrets and whatnot. I prefer the more lore-focused folk. But I'm going to have to look up a bit more of Buddhist and Shintoist theology and learning before I can analyze Zelda from that point of view. I only know a little about that, mostly from having studied Japanese history and literature in university. So, and the thing is, the Buddhist ideas are interlinked with Zelda, mostly in regards to karma and reincarnation. Now, if you did a lot of good in a past life, you get your next life a better life. But then if you do a lot of naughty things, your status in life descends. And so you are bound by your karma from a previous life. And curses can affect you across several life times and whatnot. There are ideas like that. And there's also multiple deities in Buddhism. And so there's also that. I'm not as familiar with the multiple deities and bodhisattvas as some of these other guys are. But that said, Zelda, they were a lot of them were brought in, at least subtly in some ways. And I already noted one possible Iluvatar reference in Breath of the Wild, which impressed me. And so that's something I'd like to do as a video at some point. So, yeah, Zelda is something of a franchise which has, like Dragonlance, a lot of potential, a lot of brilliant ideas, and I didn't know anything about the fan base, but looking at all the PDF documents and essays they sent me to read through, clearly passionate, a lot of them very, very smart, so that's given me a lot of hope and joy. I really like it when people send me essays like that. So I love reading essays and thesis papers and analyzing them, even though I'm not in academia anymore. So I still like to read them and study them and take notes and whatnot. So yeah, that side of the community I didn't know about. So yeah, head over to Hyrule Gamer's Discord chat. You can probably search him in YouTube and try looking him up. If I have time, I'll try to post up the Discord link later. But after this stream, I gotta run around and I gotta hurry up and finish editing 2 pieces of audio before dumping them on net. So who knows whether I'll have time for our community post. But anyways, working a legendary creature, the windfish, with a special melody and on the multiple instruments you collect during a game, fits into Asian mythology. Never made that link before. Oh yeah. That has, I think it does have its link, because when you look at Asian mythology, like in the Tale of Genji, and there's a lot of commentary in a lot of traditional Japanese literature about how music is a reflection of a person's soul, and music is a very powerful force in the Japanese mindset. They're very, very artistic-minded people, and I think that the idea of playing multiple instruments to lure out a creature is it's very Japanese. That's all I can say. I know it's not particularly brilliant on my part, but yeah. On the other hand, it also reminds me of Celtic mythology, where the world was sung into being. And the thing is, Zelda has a lot of Celtic influence, and it's very evident. And the thing about the Celtic side of Zelda is that the music always seemed to me, even as a child, to be very, very Celtic in that. And so you have this because it was believed in amongst the Celts that music was magic, or some linked to magic in some way. So yeah, it's very Asian, but it's also very, very Celtic. Actually, all the Celtic societies of Europe, from France to Scotland to Ireland, were all enchanted by music. Who also was a master musician? Finrod. Yes. Now that I think about it, Finrod, Felagund, and Link do have some traits in common. Now that I think about that. Well, actually, there might be more in common between Finrod, Felagund, and Zelda from Skyward Sword to an extent. She's a direct reincarnation of Hylia, and Hylia was the one who carried off the Hylians into the heavens and sought to shield them and bond herself to them in a way, giving them a great deal of their civilization, it seems. Finrod forged the first ties between elves and men. So Finrod, it's not too off subject, considering the influence he had over the story and how important he is in the literature. He is, and we have to bear in mind the Hylians are elves. They have the pointed ears and everything of fantasy elves. Now, I'm distinguishing between Tolkien's elves and fantasy elves. They are 2 different concepts to an extent. One is inspired by the other, but the Hylians are, I guess in hindsight, Link would not be inspired by Finrod. Arguably, I guess Link would be more inspired by maybe Fingon or something. If I had to connect him to another Lord of the Rings character, Fingon would make more sense. Zelda definitely Finrod Felagund, at least in Skyward Sword. In the later games, because it's a different Zelda each game, different character. So you have to kind of make a comparison to other characters. Okay, that last drought had too much honey there. Good. But yeah, Finrod certainly is a master musician with his harp, and you have Link, who's typically portrayed more with his ocarina. Now that I think about it, Zelda uses a harp as Sheik, so my Finrod comparison carries over in that regard as well. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Although, maybe I should make a separate playlist at some point and just go into different fantasy universes and see what's inspired by Howard or Tolkien. And see, like, for example, if it was Zelda, I'd start with Skyward Sword, earliest point in the timeline, make my way through the 3 timelines, and try to discern what's inspired by traditional mythology and what's inspired by Tolkien or Howard. In turn, though, I could always do that with Dragonlance, maybe Warcraft as well. I don't know. It might be interesting to do that at some point. I don't know when, considering life's getting a little crazy right now. But maybe once things are more settled and in a few months. So maybe, yeah. But anyways, good reference there, Mark Scheiber. I very much approve. Thank you. But seeing as how we're about to get to an hour, I might stop here. I'm really sorry to the Zelda fans of the channel. I wanted the stream to be longer, but because of my throat, I'm not in great condition. And because I also have to pack up for the move, I don't exactly have much time. I'm lucky to have had even an hour to. So, does Link influence animals by music? Yes, he does. Absolutely. Epona primarily. He's also been known to be able to interact with fairies, I think, with music. And I think he's interacted with also a few other animals like an owl in Ocarina of Time. Oh, and there's also, I think, a bird in A Link to the Past. You know, the one that swoops down and carries him away. I think that's the bird who does that. So Link has been known to influence animals with music. Aries Aurelian. Oh, no. Thank you for showing up. Just Mark, please. That's okay. Thank you, my friend. All right. I probably butcher Scheiber anyways. I do apologize. I don't want to butcher people's names. I'm just not very good with my German pronunciation. I'll have to work on that one day. Then the Ratcatcher of Hameln comes to mind. Yeah. The Ratcatcher. Yeah. And the Pied Piper to an extent. Yeah. I must revisit the lore someday when I have time. Yeah, you should. It's quite good. There's a lot of traditional folktale references, both of Asia and the West in there. Miyamoto Shigeru and his staff are very brilliant men. Most of them are men. I think they have. I don't know if they have any ladies on their staff. In the West, I'm not going to lie. When I studied some game design and animation, we were pretty much almost equal parts. Like the classrooms were typically half female, half male. But You look at a lot of game studios in Asia, most are typically men. But I have seen a lot of animation and artists who are women over in Japan and Korea. Some of the very best are women. So it's just game development is more a male pursuit in Japan and Korea. Animation seems more like it's half and half, I think. Same with manga and manhwa. So I think that's how it's pronounced. So you have equal parts. But anyways, um, yeah, that'll be all. So until next time, do take care, everyone, and don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button to stay tuned for our upcoming content.